All right, we'll get started. It's 6:32, regular EDC meeting. We'll start with director comments. You want to go ahead and start?
Just if anybody hasn't noticed, another local business went under today. The drive-through boat wash over in Seabrook. They pulled them out with a big crane there, and apparently didn't make it. So, FYI.
Thomas?
Today I have nothing.
Amanda? All right, I've got a couple of things here. I was going to ask Don, but I guess he's not here. Does anyone have a contact for Marina Bay Harbor? I figured there was a lot of people here did. I'd like to contact them and see about putting a little blurb together. Oh.
Highly interested in meeting his other partner this Thursday or Friday, and they're going to discuss all that stuff.
Okay, great.
Get with me, and I was going to turn them over to you, but I was looking at doing a video on them sometime in the future.
Exactly, yeah, I asked Adri the same thing.
Welcome them to run an ad in Islander since Teresa was there.
Yeah, okay, great. That was easy. Cool, great. I noticed there was, and I just talked to Brent about this, I noticed there's utility poles dropped off on Hanson Road. Utility poles, I guess, from Centerpoint to, we gave them information. That's the very first signs of the Daniel drawer, so that's something. Mm-hmm. Snapshot, I didn't have a chance to email this out, but if you want to take a look, one of the things that was suggested was adding last year or the prior fiscal year's information, so you can kind of see how it compares. It's obviously not the best benchmark because of COVID, whether taxes were higher or lower each month, but you can kind of see and compare. It's kind of interesting. And the other thing that was worked on was the sources and uses statement. I spoke to Brent earlier, and we rearranged some of our, mainly some of our uses, and you can see that kind of puts us in the negative a little earlier than we thought, but everything is everything's moving constantly. So basically everything hinges on the drawer construction project and the pandemic reimbursement, and there's kind of recent developments on both fronts, I think, so everything's just kind of moving around.
There we go. Is the total cash, is that less the drawer road extension? Or is that?
It's less the right-of-way, but does not include the construction.
So that 350 is?
That's for the construction. That's future construction, and we don't know, and it does sound like that's going to be in one lump payment up front, so we just don't know when that's going to trigger. So it's better spelled out on the sources and uses statement. You can see that it was moved over to July, and that's for the actual construction.
And I would advise everyone not to ask.
Right. So we'll keep the drawer construction at that. No one knows what you're talking about. And we also, there's some developments with the pandemic reimbursement grants, or the pandemic reimbursement grant reimbursement. So that got moved to October just to kind of push it along. But now there's maybe another program. I don't know if you want to go into a little bit more detail, Brent.
It's a recovery, the Recovery Act program. It's spaced over 4 years. You have to apply for funding, and it's also attributed to your budget, so budget shortfalls and then making improvements for public safety, public good. So there's you just have to line out how you're going to use that. I'm also working with Galveston County. They're the ones that are reading through this document. It's 187 pages. A lot of it does not apply to Clear Lake Shores because we do not have utilities, we do not have EMS, we can't apply for the grant based as a customer of EMS, or fire department. Police department, they've scaled back. Originally they said any working officers that worked during the pandemic and had direct contact with people, that they were, frontline workers, and now they've scaled that back to you have to articulate how they worked with people that potentially had COVID. So it's a constantly changing rules, guidance from the government. It's not uncommon, and today at the EMC meeting, other EMCs indicated after going through storms that it's very similar to this, that it just kind of is very fluid and goes with the tide. So we're waiting some additional guidance. There may be a possibility of doing some larger dollar projects if I'm able to articulate the need for public safety and infrastructure development. So that's where that's at.
So I guess the overall thing to take away from this is that, we don't have the cash for any real sizable projects until we know when those two main things are going to trigger. I don't want that to deter us from smaller things, advertising, marketing, little small projects like that, but we're not going to have any real impactful projects, I think, until we know when that's going to trigger. But I pushed out the statement a little bit further so you can kind of see going into 2022. We start to recoup it pretty quickly once those things are taken care of. All right, we'll move on to item number 3, unscheduled visitors. Do we have any? None. Item number 4, consent agenda. Did everybody have a chance to look at the financials, minutes, and everything from last May?
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve as written.
I'll second.
Motion, second from Amanda. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, moving along. Number 5, update and status of the parking lot lighting.
Update on the parking lot lighting. Hopefully this is the last one, and it'll be lit in the next month. But since the city is under contract for very low power and very low cost per kilowatt hour, and it's a long-term contract, I had to fill out some paperwork to get that new service, because it's a new service, not an existing service, onto that contract. So that's been provided to the broker and to CenterPoint, and they should be installing a meter shortly.
Talking about CenterPoint, have you heard anything more about the relocation of the power lines?
Have not heard.
I haven't either.
Haven't heard a single thing from them.
Last time we talked to them about that, it was going to be concrete. Is that what he decided? Or we don't know?
We really don't know, but steel is definitely out of contention, and they said that primarily in this environment they go to concrete. And I wasn't familiar with that, and I went to my neighborhood and I saw that the ones in my neighborhood are concrete. So.
But they were talking about they don't do wood anymore, and they have to do concrete because of where it's at. But I'm thinking, okay, can we put an arm on the existing ones? Surely that would be cheaper.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I asked out there. So to see if they relocate it further over the parking lot to get it away from the trees, but they were going to look at that. And then also look at an offset concrete standard that would come up in a similar fashion and go out over the parking lot and take those out over the parking lot.
Hopefully we'll hear from them soon. I'd like to know what our options are and costs. All right, next, item number 6, discussion on possible action regarding applications and recommendations to council for open EDC position. So it was included in the packet. We had 3 applicants. All 3 applicants are here today. And I think for compliance, someone should probably make a motion for discussion, or maybe even if they have a recommendation, they can make a motion.
I'll make a motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss, do we have a second? Joe, all right. If we have any questions for the applicants, if y'all have gone over the applications. A lot of people know everyone, but yeah, I don't know if we wanna go one by one, or what the mechanism is.
All we do is, make a recommendation to city council, right? They are the ones who appoint.
Right, that's
Yeah.
correct. Council has, they can remove and add anyone that they want. We don't have to make a recommendation, but yeah. So,
So that's your recommendation?
at the council meeting, I was there, and I recommended that they table it so that we could at least discuss it, because 2 of the applications came in after our last EDC meeting. And I feel like we should at least discuss and have an opinion or a voice. So, if anyone has a recommendation or any questions for the applicants, we have Jesse, Mark, and Ronnie. Would either, any of y'all like to speak, or?
I'm Jesse Young. I don't know, I'm probably the newest member in the neighborhood that has applied for this. So, my family and I just moved here in 2019. We had our eye on this neighborhood for the last 10 years or so, and scored an awesome house on Grove, and we're really excited to be here. Me personally, I have a background in construction. I've been in commercial construction for the last 16 years. I recently, as of the end of 2020, left the contractor I'd been at, actually for only about 18 months, and started my own firm. Late January, kind of took the plunge and went off on my own. So, anyways, that's a little bit about me. I grew up in Houston. I fish a lot, about every moment I can. So, anyways, you guys have any questions for me? And ma'am?
You're on the Parks Committee too, is that right?
Yes, P&Z Committee and then Pool and Parks Committee as well. Yeah. Also director, one of the board of directors on the yacht club as well. Right.
Appreciate it, thanks.
How you doing? Mark Atherton. I guess we'll move up in age and service. We'll leave it for Ronnie to take care of the oldest man here. I've been here since 2003. I started renting when I got here, and then I built a house in 2008, built another house in 2016. I worked for DuPont for 38 years, worked in construction, engineering, contract management, worked in a number of different states, a number of different locations, a lot of construction activity as well, mainly heavy commercial, industrial. Finished out my career in Mexico and retired about 4 years ago. So been enjoying my kids being in different places, because I got one in London, one in Denver, so we get to travel a lot. That went by the wayside last year, but we do travel a lot, and I've watched what the EDC has done over the years. I've watched what Ronnie has led. He's done a great job as far as I'm concerned, and I'm interested in the town hall, the town center project since it was envisioned, and saw the opportunity, thought it would be a good opportunity to give back a little bit and also participate in future growth for our community, because I really want to see it keep going, and I want to see it be in a positive way. Thanks. Any questions?
Nice one.
Well,
You have 3 minutes.
I enjoyed my time on EDC. That's all I must say. And these two gentlemen seem like they would be real assets to the EDC also. And so I just would like you to, it's gonna be a decision you're gonna have to make based on what kind of background, you want the people to have. But I'll be here, whether I'm on the committee or the board or not, I will, be here to support you guys. I have a lot of the old information stuff that I'm able to provide over time, from whether you want the prefabricated steel bridge price from 2013, or if you want a copy of the corporate charter or the election that we had for all of the stuff that we did in the past. I have all that kind of historical records in my hard drive, so I'm here to help if I can. But it's always good, I think, to have new people with different outlooks and stuff. Mark has been to a lot of our EDC meetings, I'll tell you that, and so he would come up to speed real fast. I would know that for sure. But having either one of these gentlemen with a construction background might be helpful. It's always good to have somebody that has that knowledge.
Thanks, Ron. So, is it something that we want to make an official recommendation, or leave it to council, or?
I would suggest just leave it to council.
Agreed.
Let them decide.
Yeah, agreed.
You're welcome. I see Monica back there going, thanks.
Really appreciate it.
I think I have some questions, though, if you guys don't mind. Are there things, Economic Development Committee, what does that mean to you? And are there any projects in the back of your head that you'd like to take on? Is there something you think that we're missing? Are there opportunities, have you thought about it, where we might generate some cash for the city? Anything,
So the first thing that sticks out to me, and I haven't done enough of the discovery yet to really speak on it, but I see it every day when I drive off the island. There's that little, almost unusable little strip of land that's right there on the other side of Aspens. There's that canal, and then it's just kind of overgrown, and it's turned into a little trash heap or a concrete dump or whatever you want to call it. But I think I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people fish over there, and me being a fisherman, I like to see that. I do think something can be done with that. I think it is privately owned, that area.
She's sitting right
hello.
there.
How are you? When I fish over there, I do fill up a trash bag. I do that when I go fishing anywhere, really. It's just part of, going to the beach, and I do the same thing and hand out trash bags. But I do think there's something that we can do with that. And so I don't know. I don't know what can be done. I would hate to see it just become a parking lot, because I feel like, we have a pretty good parking situation now. Even on a hopping Friday and Saturday night, we still have plenty of parking over there. But I don't know, something else, maybe some small business or something else can be done with it. But that's what pops into my head.
One thing you'll be surprised to learn is that we thought that the parking lot that we did on the cheap, that was supposed to be temporary. But when you look at all the businesses, when you look at what the recommended parking allotment is per business, we are way short. Way short. Yeah. And now we're going to have the Galveston Bay Brewing Company coming in where the Strawberry Fields used to be. Yeah. And the good news is that their entrance is going to be towards the parking lot. So it kind of ties things together. But, yeah, we're short. But, yes, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that I have some interest in, which I don't know much about, I've seen with the extension of the Drawer Road out there, and I haven't been able to find, and I'm sure it's somewhere, but hopefully there are some plans for commercial development along one side of that or both sides of it, whichever it is. But I don't know what those are. I don't know what's laid out. So I'm interested in finding out about that, because that's another tax revenue source for us, so. And you're right, we need more parking. The only problem with the parking garage is nobody will like it.
Nobody wants to go to the second story.
As they do during the hurricanes. That's a perfect place to
Touche.
park a golf cart.
Touche.
It's a good question. Ronnie, did you want to answer?
Brett, that's maintenance, right? Well, it's something we can tie in with when roads and drainage have, next year we're going to do 2 streets at least, probably Blue Point and Narcissus, possibly Juniper. So, be a good tie-in if we have the money. The biggest issue we have now is everybody thinks that the city has got millions of dollars, but we really don't.
I think we have that's something we can discuss during our budget workshop, which is August 10th. Hours are? We're okay. Right. That's something I meant to mention during the opening. During our EDC meeting in August, we'll have our budget workshop. Usually our budgeting is pretty quick because we don't have a lot of, we just can't necessarily plan all of our projects and stuff. We just kind of get them as they come along, so we don't have tons of budgeting, and the things that we do budget are reoccurring every year. So, but that is something that we can talk about. Any other questions for applicants? It sounds like council is really looking for a recommendation. I'll give my opinion that I think we will always benefit from Ronnie's advice, and we're always going to have your ear. But I think it would be good to have some new blood, new perspective on the board. That's my opinion. And if anyone else has a statement to make.
We can leave if that would help.
You'll get to leave, yeah, okay.
Well, it's a luxury problem. We have, several applicants, yeah.
We do, and we haven't had that problem before. I say problem. We haven't had the benefit of that before, which is great.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, right. But, yeah, I'll say, yeah, thanks for coming out, all three of y'all. I think all three would make great applicants, and board members. The other, thing we do need to bring up, and I was gonna leave it on the agenda for next time, is after we do have a board member, we need to talk about officers. Because we have a couple of, we need a official treasurer and vice president, so something to think about. We can talk about it, and I think our charter says that we appoint officers, but not board members. All right, that's all. We'll go to the next item. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming out. Item 7, discussion and possible action to approve $650 for advertising in Galveston County Daily News' Destination Galveston magazine.
Yeah, so this is something we've done in the past. It came to Charles before he rotated off. I think it was kind of in the works with him, and so we just didn't have it budgeted. We don't have a marketing line item in our budget. We have it in the sources document, but not in our budget, so that's why we brought it forward. Adri was kind enough to complete the ad for us, and it really promotes eat, shop, drink, enjoy, # visit Clear Lake Shores, and it talks about from big retail stores and restaurants to small and specialty shops and waterfront venues, how we have, there's something for everyone in Clear Lake Shores. So I think, when does that pub, Adri? Soon, right? Yeah, I think it publishes next month, so we provided the documentation to them because they were on a tight turnaround. But it was just one of those, Charles sent it to me, and he said, oops, I forgot about this. Can we get this done in time? So, and the $650 is the cost of the ad.
Do we need to approve any more for Adri's work, or does that get paid directly, or how does that work?
On her time, she keeps track of EDC hours.
Right.
We go ahead and factor it on, do a transfer internally from EDC to the city.
So that doesn't need to be approved individually or anything weird like that, okay. And like Amanda said, during the same, or since it's not a budgeted item, you know, we have to approve these things one by one, so during that same budget, meeting, I think we need to have a just set amount, so we don't have to approve all these little small expenditures.
And it's a half-page ad. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it's a half-page ad in that publication.
I'll send a copy around, unless can you pull it up, or?
I've got it. I can send it.
Okay, Amanda will send it. So do I have a motion to approve $650 for the marketing ad?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
Pons, that was you? Okay.
Pons. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a question? What do we get for the $650?
We get a half-page ad, and so it's a countywide publication, right, Adri? Yeah, I don't know how it's distributed. Do you know how? It goes with the newspaper subscriptions, right? And then they set them out at different restaurants. Yeah, so it's a brand awareness tactic, right? Maybe 2 or 3 people or 20 or 30 people will come and visit Clear Lake Shores. We don't know, but it's something we've done previously. I don't think last year they pubbed that because of COVID. Yeah. I'm looking at you because you were on that email chain too. I want to make sure I don't misspeak.
Yeah, last year we posted a list of all our businesses, their phone numbers, emails, and we wanted to.
And they did an online version last year, but not a printed version. Yeah, and this is a printed, an online piece.
It's kind of like supporting with, League City Chamber.
Sure, it's kind of like, yeah,
You're not associated with it, you don't see the brand, you just know and see it's Clear Lake Shores.
Right.
You join in with this and
Everybody sees it.
drive by here, you're like, oh, this is.
And you post the same thing on the city website or something like that, or is, yeah, okay.
I was just waiting for them to post it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Did we vote on it?
All right, last item, number 8, update status of Galveston Bay Brewing license agreement. I put this item on here because Charles and I have and Brent have been talking to them on and off, along with the city attorneys, and, we really haven't had an agenda item to discuss it, so, because a lot of things went in a lot of different directions for a while. But now, you know, as you can tell, they're getting a little bit moving along more, so I wanted to have an official item, so everyone kinda knew what was going on with the brewery. But initially, Charles and I, had Zoom meetings with the brewery owners just to talk to them about what they're interested in, concepts. It was very early on. And one of the things they stated was they wanted to have a western entrance, so the entrance facing the city parking lot. They wanted a western entrance, and it was a really big part of their entire layout and business model. So we went in search of how we would accomplish that. So Charles and I had conversations with Lauren and Justin, some of our city attorneys for Olson. They explored it. We came back. We went back and forth. But what we came up with, and for a while we were talking about, well, how is that going to happen? Is it an easement? And it's not officially an easement.
Are you talking about the 8 parking spots that they need, or what do you?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So they want to have a western entrance.
Right.
And at the time, they didn't know exactly what they're going to do with it. Is it going to be a porch? Do they need it for handicap parking spots? But they knew they wanted to face that direction and have a nice facade and everything. So they, after we talked to the attorneys, we came to the determination that we really just needed a license agreement, like a long-term license agreement saying you can use this with stipulations for X amount of time. But there were some complications because the lease still own it. We basically have a license agreement with them. So there has to be an amended license agreement with the lease, with the approval of us being able to make a license agreement for that small area just to the west of the building. That's kind of where we stand now. I talked to Lauren just a few days ago, and they needed a survey. So we had a survey done. How long ago was that? A few weeks? It was finished maybe a month ago? Okay. Yeah, so a new survey needed to be used. The survey was completed. That was given to the attorneys. They're looking it over and finalizing both license agreements for everyone to go over and look at and eventually be approved. But the land that we're talking about is just that strip of land behind or north of the Little Body Shop. So roughly 30 feet, 30, 40 feet to the west of the building, all the way to Aspen. But their use is their main entrance with their signage, and then they're going to need some handicap spots. But Kevin and the fire marshal both have received their plans, made a bunch of notes, and have gone back to Galveston Bay Brewing. That's where we sit, and that was just a few days ago was the last time that we talked to them.
So this is just a bureaucratic thing, and we need to go through the hurdles and get it sorted out, essentially. There's already an agreement that we will do something, it's just a matter of what?
There is verbal agreements, yes. There's nothing been official with them. As far as the EDCs involved, we're just kind of facilitating, as far as surveys and attorneys and. But that's where we stand.
Well,
if you have any questions, let me know.
It makes sense to tie it in, so,
I think it's fantastic. As stated before, it's going to face the rest of the town center area and really, really look good. So their time frame, and of course, it's going to depend on a lot of permitting and a lot of other things. But they're just saying hopefully before the end of the year. It's the time frame. And it could even be in phases to where they get their production up and running, which is the most, that makes the money. Getting their production over to that building is the most important, so they can start selling it. And then maybe have a phase 2 to where they open to the public. But all that's up in the air. But as we learn more, I'll keep everybody informed. I think it's going to be a great addition. It's going to bring a lot more business and outside business to the community, not just the locals. So that's good, we'll get other people's money in our city.
I guess one of the big issues is parking, in the back, and they got the fence where the kids used to be playing, and they're gonna take all that down. They're trying to find out what they're, cause they have to meet the lot parking requirements.
That's gonna be a big factor, and I think that was one of Kevin's main concerns. But that whole area now that's fenced in, that used to be like the playground outdoor area, essentially, from their plans now, is gonna be like a covered patio facing the bayou.
Did they ever approach like the paint and body shop that's there to see if they could
Yes.
purchase it, and what was the answer?
Their broker approached them and gave them a number that I think was, everyone agreed was high. But that may be something that is approached and increasing. But I think that will come into play at some point in the future, yes.
Have they read anything in Kevin's review or the fire marshal that's a deal breaker or anything that we know of?
Not that we know of.
The elevation's okay for what they want to do?
I haven't heard any feedback. I know that they both had notes and have given it back to the architects and the brewery itself. So, fingers crossed. Any other questions?
What's their ETA? I mean, when
They just said before the end of the year is their goal.
Yeah.
But again, it could be phased to where production comes first, because they're moving their entire facility from Dickinson, brewery and everything, over to that building.
I talked to them at the shrimp oil, and I told them that, what's holding it up? We're ready.
Yeah. They're very ready, we're ready. There's a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement in the community about this. So.
Well, you hated it too, yeah? Well, actually, you mentioned that they may have start with a little trailer.
Yeah, they talked about trying to get creative. So as long as things are to code and everything, I think they're going to try everything they can, which is fun. All right.
Does it, just throwing out,
Sure.
Does it make sense to, instead of spending money, the little money that we're spending like on the advertising, but maybe to help them do some, four-wall marketing kind of stuff that to help generate interest in what's coming there in business?
Yeah, I think when the timing's right, we can approach them to help out with.
He's already got a billboard there.
Right. But I mean, maybe there's something else that we could.
They're on our list. Adrian and I talked about businesses to promote, and they're on our list to do some stuff on our social media. Yes, you can do marketing. It just depends on how much money you want to spend and what your reach is going to be, because it's expensive to. But there's, we might be able to get some stuff. I'm thinking like TJ and just some of the stuff a little bit more organic that has a lot of reach. So yeah, we can.
Yeah, we did one Facebook post when, we did put it up with the mayor and Johnny and Charles.
It was just us.
Okay, yeah, that was our first main Facebook post. We were just waiting so they can start remodeling, and we were thinking about doing a ribbon
Cutting with them or something to help too.
Yeah, once they're settled, because they didn't want to.
It's still early, yeah.
Yeah, save the date.
Yeah.
They don't even want to rush to mention the building like this, so maybe we should wait a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're aware of the tools that we have in marketing, and that we're absolutely willing to help on that stuff when the timing's right. So they know to get with us, but it's still too early. But hopefully we'll end up doing maybe one of those videos similar to what we were discussing with Raina Bay. I think those are great. Those look really good. Any other questions? If that's everything, we will adjourn. 7